My name is Adrian, and if there's one thing I learned growing up, it's that family doesn't always have your back. Sometimes, they'll smile to your face while handing everything you deserve to someone else. Sometimes, they'll make it clear you were never their priority. And sometimes, if you're really unlucky, they'll even laugh while they do it. I was the youngest in the family, with only one sibling, my older sister, Rachel. If you asked my parents, she was perfect. She was smart, responsible, the golden child who could do no wrong. And me? I was always just there. A background character in my own family. If she wanted something, she got it. No questions asked. And if I wanted something? Well, I needed to stop being so selfish and learn to share. It wasn't obvious at first, at least not when I was little. But as I grew up, I started noticing the pattern. Rachel got a brand new car on her 18th birthday. I got an old second-hand junker that barely ran. She went to an expensive college, fully paid for by her parents. I was told to take out student loans because they had already spent too much on Rachel's education. Every milestone in my life was treated as an inconvenience, something they had to deal with rather than celebrate. But the real betrayal? That came later. Our childhood home was everything to me. It wasn't a mansion or anything special, just a cozy two-story house with a big backyard where I used to play as a kid. It was the one place that always felt like home. My parents had owned it for decades, and they always said they planned to pass it down to us. I naively thought that meant splitting it equally between me and Rachel. I should have known better. I still remember the day they told me. I had just graduated college, scraping by on part-time jobs while looking for a real career. I was exhausted but hopeful, thinking that maybe, just maybe, I'd finally get something fair from my family. Instead, I came home to find my parents and Rachel sitting in the living room, all smiles and excitement. "Great news, Adrian." My mom beamed. "We've decided to give the house to Rachel." I blinked. "What?" "Rachel has a family now," my dad said, as if that explained everything. "She has a husband, a baby on the way. She needs the space. You're still young. You'll figure something out." Rachel just smirked, sitting there like a queen accepting her throne. "It makes sense, doesn't it?" she said. "I mean, you don't even need a house. It'd be wasted on you." And then, the part that still burns in my memory, my parents laughed. Actually laughed, as if the idea of me deserving a place to live was some kind of joke. I didn't laugh. I didn't smile. I fought. I argued. I reminded them that I was their son too, that I had worked just as hard, that Rachel getting married didn't mean I should be thrown aside like an afterthought. But they wouldn't budge. "Rachel needs it more," they kept saying. "You'll understand when you're older." I left that day with nothing but a sick feeling in my stomach and the knowledge that I wasn't welcome in my own home anymore. But if they thought I'd just roll over and accept it, they were wrong. I walked out of that house feeling like the air had been knocked out of me. It was the first time in my life I truly understood what it meant to be on my own. No backup, no safety net, just me. I wanted to believe that maybe my parents would come to their senses, that they'd realize how unfair they had been. But weeks passed, and nothing changed. Rachel moved into the house like it had always belonged to her, redecorating, changing things, erasing every trace of the childhood we had shared. My parents helped her settle in, acting like they had done something noble, something right. And me? I was left scrambling. I had no savings. My part-time job barely covered my student loans, and with nowhere to go, I had to crash on a friend's couch. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd find a job, get back on my feet, and everything would be fine. But reality had other plans. Finding a stable job was harder than I expected. Every rejection email chipped away at my confidence. My friends were supportive, but I could tell I was overstaying my welcome. I can see it in the way their smiles got tighter, the way they hesitated before saying I could stay as long as I needed. I couldn't blame them. No one wants a permanent houseguest who can barely afford to chip in for rent. I applied everywhere: corporate jobs, retail, even restaurants, but nothing stuck. My parents knew I was struggling, and do you think they offered to help? Not once. When I finally caved and asked if I could stay for a little while, just until I got a steady paycheck, my mom sighed like I was being dramatic. "Adrian, we talked about this," she said, her voice sickly sweet, like she was explaining something to a child. "Rachel and her family need the space. You'll figure something out. You always do." Rachel, of course, had to chime in. "Maybe if you stopped whining and worked harder, you wouldn't be in this mess." I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palm. "I am working hard." Rachel rolled her eyes. "Then why are you still broke?" That was the last time I asked them for anything. If they wanted to cut me out, fine. I'd do it on my own. For the next year, I bounced between cheap rentals, doing whatever I could to keep my head above water. I took jobs I hated, dealt with bosses who barely looked at me, and learned to stretch every dollar. There were nights I went to sleep hungry, mornings I woke up exhausted, but I kept going. Because I had one goal: make it out of this and never, ever need them again. And slowly, things started to change. I landed a job at a small tech startup. Low pay, long hours, but it was something. I threw myself into it, working late, taking on extra projects, learning everything I could. When promotions came up, I fought for them. When opportunities appeared, I grabbed them. While my parents were busy playing house with Rachel, I was building something real. And one day, after years of climbing, I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. I had my own apartment, bigger than anything I'd ever expected to afford. My bank account wasn't just stable, it was comfortable. The kind of comfortable that meant I didn't have to check my balance before making a purchase. And best of all, I had something no one could take from me: independence. I thought I'd moved on. I really did. But life has a way of bringing things full circle. Because after years of acting like I didn't exist, my parents showed up again. And this time, they were the ones with nowhere to go. It started with a phone call, a number I hadn't saved, but one I recognized instantly. My mother. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. It had been years since she last called me. The last time we spoke was a half-hearted birthday text she sent out of obligation, one I didn't even bother responding to. So why now? Curiosity won over. I picked up. Hello. For a second, there was silence. Then, a hesitant, almost nervous voice. Adrian, it's Mom. I leaned back in my chair, waiting. I wasn't about to make this easy for her. Yeah. She exhaled, as if this call was some great burden on her. How have you been? I almost laughed. How have I been? Now she cared. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of knowing just how well I was doing. Fine, I said flatly. Why are you calling? There was a pause, then a strained chuckle. Straight to the point, huh? You always were so impatient. That's when I knew she wanted something. She always pulled the motherly guilt trip when she needed a favor. I waited, letting the silence stretch until she finally cracked. Well, we've run into a bit of a situation, she admitted, her voice careful, like she didn't want to give me too many details. Your father and I, things have been hard lately. We had to leave the house. I raised an eyebrow, even though she couldn't see me. Their house. They hadn't owned a house in years. They gave ours to Rachel, and last I heard, they were renting a small place nearby. What do you mean? Had to leave? I asked, my voice deceptively calm. She hesitated, and then, in a much smaller voice, she said, we were evicted. That caught my attention. My parents were not the kind of people who got evicted. They had always lived comfortably, spending money without much thought. But hearing that single word, evicted, told me exactly how bad things had gotten. I leaned forward, resting my elbow on my desk. How'd that happen? She sighed, her tone shifting into self-pity. Money problems, Adrian. We've had some bad luck. Your father's business took a hit. And, well, rent just kept going up. We fell behind, and she cut herself off, probably realizing she was revealing too much. Then, her voice brightened, as if she were just so excited to share the next part. But it's all okay, because we figured it out. We just need a place to stay for a while, just until we get back on our feet. And there it was, the real reason for the call. I let her words hang in the air for a moment before I asked, and Rachel? Silence. I knew the answer before she even spoke. Well, my mother started, her voice tight. She's going through a lot right now. The kids, you know. And her husband, he's been under a lot of stress. They don't have the space. I almost laughed. They don't have the space? In the house they stole from me. Rachel has 4 bedrooms, I pointed out, and a finished basement. Well, yes, but she scrambled for an excuse, but there was none. The truth was simple. Rachel didn't want them there. The golden child they had sacrificed everything for had turned them away. And now, after treating me like an afterthought for years, I was their only option. I could feel the anger bubbling beneath the surface, but I didn't let it show. Instead, I kept my voice neutral. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You gave away the only home we ever had. You laughed in my face when I asked for fairness. You ignored me when I was struggling. And now, after all that, you expect me to help you? My mother let out a soft, nervous chuckle. Oh, Adrian, don't be so dramatic. We're family. You know we didn't mean to hurt you. And besides, you're doing so well now. You have a big place, right? Plenty of space. Oh, so they didn't know I was successful. They must have been keeping tabs on me, even if they never reached out. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to just hang up right then and there. But I wasn't done yet. Where are you staying now? I asked. A motel, she admitted. But it's awful, Adrian. We can't live like this. Can't live like this. Funny. I remembered nights when I slept in my car because I couldn't afford rent. I remembered stretching a single meal across 2 days because I had nothing left in my bank account. I survived, without their help, without their pity. And now they were acting like they were the ones who had suffered. I exhaled, leaning back again. I'll think about it, I said. My mother sounded relieved. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd understand. Just let us know when we can come by. I said I'll think about it. I interrupted. Then, without another word, I hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, the screen still lit up from the call. My mother's voice still echoed in my head, dripping with fake sweetness. Oh, Adrian, don't be so dramatic. We're family. Family. Funny how that only mattered when they needed something. I wasn't done yet. If my parents were desperate enough to come crawling to me, that meant one thing: Rachel had shut the door in their faces. And I needed to hear that for myself. I scrolled through my contacts, my thumb hesitating over her name. I hadn't spoken to Rachel in years. Not because of some dramatic falling out, but because she never needed to talk to me. She had our parents, she had the house, she had their undivided love and support. I was just an afterthought, a name on a Christmas card, if that. Still, I tapped the call button. It rang twice before she answered. Adrian, she said, her voice filled with confusion. Straight to the point. Hey, Rachel? Just got a call from Mom. There was a pause. Oh, that was all she had to say? I let the silence stretch before continuing, my tone casual. Yeah, she told me they got evicted. Said they needed a place to stay. So why aren't they with you? She sighed, the kind of exhausted sigh that people gave when they were about to justify something they knew was wrong. Adrian, it's complicated. No, it's not. My voice was sharper now. They gave you the house. They prioritized you over me for everything. But the second things go south, you're suddenly too busy to help. She groaned, like this was inconveniencing her. Look, it's not that simple. I have kids, Adrian. You wouldn't understand. Oh, don't start, I snapped. You think I don't understand responsibility? I had to build my life from nothing because Mom and Dad made sure you got everything first. And now you're just, what? Pretending they don't exist. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I can't have them here, okay? Mark isn't comfortable with it. Ah, Mark. Her husband. The guy who had zero problems taking the house when it was handed to them on a silver platter, but suddenly had an issue when it came time to return the favor. Let me guess, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. It's too much stress for him? Maybe he thinks it's not fair to disrupt your life like that. Rachel hesitated, which told me everything I needed to know. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Wow. So now we care about fairness. Her voice turned defensive. Adrian, don't be like this. We all have our own struggles. That did it. That actually made me see red. Struggles. I repeated, my voice dangerously low. Do you remember when I was struggling, Rachel? When I had to sleep in my car because I didn't have enough for rent? When I asked Mom and Dad for help, and they laughed? Told me I didn't need a house because I didn't have a family to take care of? Silence. Yeah, I continued. But you didn't care then, did you? Because it didn't affect you. And now, when the tables have turned, you suddenly expect me to be the generous one. She let out another sigh, but this time, it wasn't exasperation. It was discomfort. Like she knew I was right but didn't want to admit it. I didn't make that decision, Adrian. Mom and Dad did. Yeah, I said coldly. And you benefited from it. There was nothing else to say. I hung up before she could respond. I sat there, my phone still clutched in my hand, my heart pounding. My parents had raised Rachel to believe the world revolved around her. They had given her my home, my security, without a second thought. And now, when they needed something, she couldn't even be bothered to return the favor. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt some sense of twisted satisfaction. But all I felt was anger. And the thing about anger? It makes you want to even the score. I stared at my phone, my fingers tightening around it as I processed everything. My parents had always put Rachel first. They had made it clear that she was the one who deserved their love, their support, their home. And now, when life had finally caught up with them, She was just as quick to abandon them as they had been to abandon me. It was almost poetic. Almost. But the anger still burned inside me. I wasn't the same person I had been all those years ago, the kid begging for scraps of affection, the broke 20-something sleeping in his car, hoping for a break. I had built something for myself. I had carved out a life through sheer willpower and hard work. And now? Now, I had the power to decide exactly how this played out. I took a deep breath and opened my messages. My mother had texted me twice while I was on the phone with Rachel. Mom texted, "Adrian, we just need a place to stay for a few weeks. I know you don't have kids, so it's not like it's a big deal. We wouldn't be a burden." A burden. I closed my eyes and let out a bitter laugh. They had always seen me as someone who didn't matter, someone whose needs weren't as important as Rachel's. I had spent my childhood watching them bend over backward for her while I got the leftovers. And yet, here they were, begging me for help. I knew I could end this right now. A simple no, and I'd be free of them forever. But that wasn't enough. I needed them to feel it, to understand, truly understand, what it was like to be cast aside like they had done to me. So, I did something I hadn't done in years. I drove back to my childhood home. I parked across the street and just sat there for a moment, staring at the house that had once been mine. It looked the same, yet different. Rachel had changed the color of the shutters. The porch had new furniture. There was a playset in the front yard now, probably for her kids. This house had been my home once. My memories were woven into its walls, its floors, its very foundation. But now? Now, it was just another reminder of how little I had mattered to my own family. I stepped out of the car, my heart pounding, and walked up the driveway. I didn't even have to knock. Rachel had seen me through the window. She opened the door hesitantly, her expression wary. "Adrian," she said, crossing her arms. "What are you doing here?" I glanced past her, into the house. "Our house. Just wanted to see the place," I said coolly. "Been a long time." Her eyes flickered with something, maybe guilt, maybe irritation. "It's different now," she said. "It's my home." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, it is." She shifted uncomfortably. "Look, Adrian, if you came here to argue, I don't have time for this. I already told you, I can't take them in." I leaned against the doorframe, watching her. "You know," I said, "it's funny. Mom and Dad justified giving you this house because I didn't need it, because you had a family. And yet, the second they actually need something, you're just done with them." Her jaw tightened. "You think I don't feel bad?" She snapped. "I have my own life, Adrian. I can't just drop everything for them." I tilted my head, but they expected me to. She opened her mouth, then closed it, realizing she had no argument. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Just wanted to hear it from you," I said. Then I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless. As I got back in my car, my phone buzzed again. Another text from my mother. Mom texted, "Adrian, please. We don't have anywhere else to go." I stared at the message, my grip tightening around the phone. They had made their choice years ago, and now it was my turn. I let the phone sit in my lap, staring at the message. The same people who had laughed in my face, who had told me I didn't need a home, were now desperate for mine. The irony was almost too perfect. But I wasn't going to respond with a simple no that was too easy, too clean. They needed to feel it. They needed to understand. So I picked up my phone and dialed. My mother answered on the first ring. "Adrian." "Oh, thank God. We were starting to think you wouldn't." I cut her off. "I just talked to Rachel." Silence. Then, cautiously, "Oh, did she tell you why she can't take us in?" "She told me a lot of things." I leaned back in my seat, staring at the house, her house. But what I really wanted to hear was whether or not she'd fight for you the way you fought for her. More silence. Then my father's voice, slightly muffled in the background. "What's he saying?" "She's not taking you in," I said, my voice calm, almost detached. "I guess you were right all along. She needed the house. She needed the family support." I let out a small laugh. "Shame she doesn't think you need the same." I could hear my mother inhale sharply. "Adrian, please, no," I said, my voice turning cold. "You don't get to please me now. Don't be like this." My father suddenly cut in. His voice, the same authoritative, dismissive tone I had heard my entire life, made my blood boil. "We're family. Families help each other." "Oh, now we're family?" I asked. "Was I your family when you laughed in my face and gave away my home? Was I family when you told me I didn't need a house? When I was struggling just to get by while you lived comfortably in the home that should have been mine?" "That was years ago," my mother said weakly. We didn't know things would turn out this way. I clenched my jaw. Neither did I said quietly. I didn't know that being your son meant I was disposable. I didn't know that my whole life would be spent playing second to Rachel. And I sure as hell didn't know that one day, when you had nowhere else to go, you'd come crawling to me, expecting me to forget everything you did. Adrian, we're sorry. My mother tried again. But you have a big house, don't you? You have money now. You won't even notice if we stay for a while. I let out a humorless laugh. Just like you didn't notice when I had nothing? She faltered. You know what's funny? I continued. You didn't just take my house. You took away my sense of security. You made it clear that I wasn't worth fighting for. And now, the person you did fight for won't even lift a finger for you. Adrian, we raised you. My father snapped. We put food on the table. We gave you, what? A roof over my head until you decided I didn't need one? A childhood full of being ignored in favor of Rachel. I scoffed. You didn't raise me. You tolerated me. There was a long, heavy silence. Then my mother tried one last time, her voice desperate. Please, Adrian. We have nowhere to go. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes for a moment, then exhaled. And then, I gave them the same answer they had once given me. You don't need a house. I hung up, and this time, I wasn't the one left out in the cold. This all happened yesterday. I haven't answered any calls since, and I don't plan to. They've been blowing up my phone, alternating between guilt-tripping, fake apologies, and outright demands that I stop being petty and think about family. Even Rachel had the nerve to text me, saying I was being cruel. Cruel? Me? The same people who laughed in my face when I begged them not to take my childhood home are now calling me cruel because I won't give them a place to stay? I don't feel bad. Not even a little. But I'll admit, part of me is curious. Did I do the right thing? Should I have at least let them stay for a few days? Or is cutting them off completely the best decision? I know one thing for sure. I finally have the power in this situation, and I'm not about to hand it back. What do you think?